So today what we will do is, this is your very first model, which is the stages of negotiation. So we will look into this, this different stages, not too many PPTs and stuff. So my main focus would be to have more and more activities rather than focusing too much on the PPTs, right? So we will do module 1 and then we will go into module 2. Then I will be giving you a checklist as to what would be the checklist for you to go ahead, or what would be a part of your planning. What are the checklists that you need to go ahead and understand before actually going in for a meeting and before actually going ahead with cracking a deal and negotiating, right? So I will give you the checklist, post which I will divide you into different groups, and each one of you will have to come up with a scenario, right? So you'll have to come up with an own scenario, and I'm going to take that scenario and I'm going to give it to different teams. So based on this new scenario thrown to you, you will have to go ahead and negotiate. So today it is going to be you creating the scenario and you will be negotiating on the scenario given to you. So basically you are creating scenarios for your other teams. So stages of negotiation. Now, before we actually go ahead with the stages, what do you think are the stages of negotiation, especially with regards to, the activity and with regards to your negotiations that you all had yesterday? So what are the different stages when it comes to negotiating and cracking deals? So all this, so these are the stages. Okay, how about you do all this before actually going ahead and negotiating? So all what you said is right, but can we put it all together in the stage of planning? So before you are going to negotiate, you will go ahead and plan, right? So how am I going to plan my negotiation? So basically I need to stick to what I want, right? So what do you want to stick with? So types of negotiation, one is the distributive and one is the integrative negotiation. So what do you mean by distributive and what do you mean by integrative? So in a distributive negotiative style, or you can say a type, here one loses and the other one gains. So basically there is maximum advantage taken by one party, and then the other party does not enjoy any kind of, doesn't get the maximum benefit basically. Whereas in integrative negotiation type, here both parties are kind of happy because it's like a win-win situation. Okay, so now what do you mean by integrative? So parties engaging in integrative negotiation don't believe in a fixed pie, instead asserting that both sides can create value or mutual gains by offering trade-offs and reframing the problem so that everyone can walk away with a win-win solution. Okay, so with regards to yesterday's activity, wherein what was that? The manager, right? Mohini and Kimberly were the managers, and they had to negotiate with the CEOs and the CFOs because they were because there was too much of workload and stuff. They wanted to hire an assistant manager, correct? So with regards to that activity, do you think was what would their was their negotiation fitting into an integrative style or a type? Yes or no? Or you think was it a distributive, wherein the one party had 80% of the benefit and satisfied, and whereas the other party was just not really happy about it, but they were just okay with 20% of their expectations? Was it integrative or was it distributive? So it was integrative because everyone's need was everyone was considerate with regards to keeping in mind what the needs of another was. Cool. So your style was integrative type, wherein you all were saying, yes, it's okay to compromise a little and it's okay to adjust a little, because ultimately, overall, our goal was to make sure that my workload is kind of, not too much on me. It's like, a little less, and there's not too much of cost. And plus the other team, no, what was the CEO's issue was that the other managers should not feel kind of, that we are partially towards you all. So even that was met, because I think you all discussed on having like a team meeting and saying that, yes, they deserve it because it's like an incentive for them or something like that, right? If I remember correctly. Okay, so 5 stages of the negotiation process. So here the very first thing is your preparation. Your preparation is the most crucial part of the entire process. So you prepare, exchange, bargain, conclude, and execute. So let's just look into it. Okay, so prepare. Negotiation preparation is easy to ignore, but it's a vital first stage of the negotiation process. To prepare, research both sides of the discussion, identify any possible trade-offs. So what do you mean by identify any possible trade-offs? What do you understand by this term, or what do you understand by the sentence? So the bargaining chips. So you have to be very particular in understanding that, okay, what could be the different alternatives that I could offer to them. And very strongly yesterday, with the way you all started off was, yes, you all put down your alternatives on the table, and that became really easier to actually convince the other parties to understand that, yes, these are our issues, and they are coming up with good bargaining chips. So yeah, we see this going to be a successful one, providing that, you know, we can be able to satisfy them, yet our issues are also being kind of taken into consideration. So identify the possible trade-offs means what could be the alternatives that you could offer to the party to help them agree or to help them be convinced with what you are putting to the table. That should be very crucial into your preparation part. And determine your most desired and the least desired possible outcomes. So what do you mean by determine your most desired and least desired possible outcomes? So if we are talking about the rental activity, so the most was like, they wanted 12,000 rupees rent. That was the most. And the least they said is below 11,000, it's a no for us. So the same way with the tenants, they said, yes, maximum is 10.5 and the least is 10. So they couldn't come to a consensus, and then they avoided, the conversation, or they avoided the negotiation, which was fair enough, right? So yeah, so understanding all of that in your preparation stage. Then exchanging information. So this is the part of the negotiation when both parties exchange their initial positions. Each side should be allowed to share their underlying interests and concerns, including what they aim to receive at the end of the negotiation and why they feel the way they do. So here, of course, rather than just saying, I want a new manager or an assistant manager, you are explaining, you need to have like enough evidences that actually hold your statements, right? So of course we are being overloaded because of the high productivity in our team. It's extremely difficult to manage all the tasks by ourselves, which is why we need an assistant manager. You're not directly going ahead and saying, yes, hey, listen up, I need an assistant manager, right? So it didn't work that way. So exchange of information means to say that why are you putting this, why are you coming up with this to bargain in the first place? Why are you coming up with these alternatives? What is the main crux of it? What is the main motive and the objective? Correct. So that would be understanding what piece of information you need to share with your, the other opposing party, basically. Okay, so clarify. So what do you think goes into the what goes into the clarification process? So first is your prepare. Yes, you go ahead, you prepare, then you also work on exchanging information. And while exchanging information, of course, suddenly new ideas and new strategies may prop up. But what do you mean by clarification in your one of the stages or the process of your negotiation? Clarification. And do you think it is necessary? Yes, what do you mean by clarification in your negotiation here? Even if it's something very basic, I'm asking you guys so that I just want you to open up and interact. Yeah, so basically in a negotiation, exactly. So you're constantly trying to persuade them to agree with your points. You're constantly persuading them to go ahead and be convinced to take a call to action with regards to what you are, trying to convey, or with regards to what you are trying to convince them with. So your clarification is if you have any facts. Now, during the clarification step, both sides continue the discussion that they began when exchanging information by just justifying and bolstering their claims. If one side disagrees with something the other side is saying, they should discuss the disagreement in calm terms to reach a point of understanding. Okay, so if we again have to talk about, different scenarios, until and unless you really bring evidences, you really thoroughly explain your points and clarify that, yes, this is why I'm asking for so and so, then it's only then that it's actually going to make it take the negotiation forward and further. If both the parties are literally saying no, and not coming to a terms of disagreeing on the same point, then there's just waste of time for both the ends, right? Bargain and problem solve. This step is the meat of the process of negotiation, during which both sides begin to give and take. After the initial first offer, each negotiating party should propose different counter offers for the problem, all the while making the managing their concessions. Okay, so now these counter offers, do you think it happens during the negotiation, or do you think you have to come up with these counter offers before going ahead with, beginning the negotiation process? You need to prepare and you need to understand what would be the different. Okay, so now first of all, how are you going to come up with counter offers? Right? So until and unless you step into their shoes and you think like the way they are thinking, you cannot come up with counter offers, right? So you need to step into the shoes of your the other party. You need to think from their point of view as to what they may kind of give different alternatives and stuff like that. Only if you think from their point of view would you be able to think of these counter offers well beforehand. And then of course, while you are negotiating, when they come up with counter offering, that's when you are well prepared and you can go ahead and counter offer. I mean, yes, give up different offers and alternatives. Cool. So rightly said, you need to work on, preparing for these counter offers well during your preparation stage, but then it eventually comes out during the negotiation. Okay, so it does not happen towards the end. You can say after the introduction, like, yes, I want so and so, we are just, I'm putting this to the table, you are putting this to the table. So once we have gone ahead with just the initial introduction of I want this, you want that, then immediately I start offering you, like, I cannot go ahead and completely agree to all what you are saying. I have this in mind. So when I give you alternatives, you backfire, and it kind of sometimes backfires me because I wouldn't have known that, yes, you are so well prepared, and the alternatives that I'm bringing to you, it's going to backfire me because you already have such counter offers which are really strong and I cannot say no to, right? So it happens in the middle, you can say during the negotiation itself, and not towards the end. Towards the end, after going ahead and analyzing what the offers, the counter offers, counter offers, towards the end, you'll only just come down to a consensus on agreeing at a point after considering the different offers and counter offers. Correct? Okay, so conclude and implement. So once an acceptable solution has been agreed upon, both sides should thank each other for the discussion, no matter the outcome of the negotiation. So of course, this is very essential towards the end, and even whatever activities that, whatever negotiation activities you all are going to carry on, go ahead with, make sure that it looks like, a real negotiation kind of a thing. You guys are real parties and stuff. So you'll start with introducing or greeting each other, and towards the end, you all end it up with thanking each other for their time and conclude it and go ahead and agree. Or if you'll decide to walk away also, it's fine if it's not working out. Okay, so successful negotiations are about creating and maintaining good long-term relationships. Now, again, with yesterday's example, now the first scenario, which is the assistant manager. Now here it was very essential to maintain long-term relationships, correct? So of course you cannot go ahead and argue, and you cannot say, no, I'm not willing to compromise, because end of the day, you want them as much as they want you. Correct. So it was that scenario. So of course it was like give and take or win and lose. But when we went ahead with the second scenario, which is negotiating for the rent, then here relationship didn't matter. So it is not about it's about maintaining good relationship. But in the second scenario, yeah, if I don't get 10-5, I'm going to walk away. It's fine. I don't want to maintain any relationship with this party, correct? It's about me and how much I'm willing to pay. That's about it. So in that case, it was fair enough. Then they should outline the expectations of each party and ensure that the compromise will be implemented effectively. This step often includes a written contract and a follow-up to confirm the implementation is going on smoothly. So towards the end, once everything is decided and both the parties have come to a consensus, the contract or whatever is required, the paperwork, the documentation, then that would go ahead and, on those lines would be created. So this is your first module done with this.